Hi, I'm Roger Margolis. I'm here at OSCON in Portland 2018. And I'm here with Jim Schreckengast, or Schreck, who works for HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And we're going to talk a little about HPE and open source.
Sounds good.
You know, how long has HPE been involved in open source? And I guess we're going back to even HP days.
Yeah, so going back to HP days. In fact, one of the things I love about Hewlett Packard and Hewlett Packard Enterprise is we've always had this culture of open collaboration. And it goes all the way back to the days of NextBench, where engineers would look at each other and talk about common problems they were trying to solve, put their heads together and do it. Sometimes those solutions ended up just in the workbench. Other times they became products, but it was a great way to innovate. We've also had a long history of giving back to the community. So when Linux hit the scene in the 90s and open source started to really take off, we were all in. And proud to say we've been active participants and contributors to open source ever since. It's just in our DNA.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, open source is kind of a process where there's a lot of learning can take place. So what do you think the most important things you've learned from the open source efforts you've been doing?
So we were just discussing this in a session we had yesterday. I think probably the four most important points I would bring up is, one, focus on the community. The community is the cornerstone to any successful open source project. So, you know, if you create an atmosphere of trust and transparency and you nurture the community, you can have a successful product. If you don't, you could have the most successful technology in the world and it's not going to go anywhere without the community. So that's one. The second would be to, if you have an open source program office, don't just focus it on compliance and auditing. There's a holistic view of open source that I think is important. Help the businesses to align on an open source strategy. What do you want to do with open source? How you want to use it? How you want to engage with the community? Find a way to address compliance by cooperating and helping the engineers understand what it is to be compliant. Have a community outreach program, and to the extent possible, work on educating the workforce. A lot of people still don't understand the power of open source and what it's about. So, I would say make sure that your internal developers can contribute personally in addition to corporate contributions. Anymore, I think most developers would tell you it's not just about the resume, it's about the GitHub commit log. So being able to enable them to do that is important for personal and professional growth, but it's also important in building an effective workforce. Mm-hmm. And then I think finally I would say, to the extent possible, make the work you do inside the enterprise match the best practices outside in the open source community. It makes it so much easier to onboard people. It makes it easier to collaborate inside and outside at the same time. Those are the things I think are probably most important.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So given HPE's long commitment and use of open source, what are the cool projects you're excited about?
Well, there are a lot of exciting open source projects. Maybe I just highlight a few that we're in the middle of right now. One is Grommet. I actually think Grommet is a great NextBench story. We noticed that there were a lot of enterprise products that we had that didn't have the same kind of user experience. So engineers put their heads together and they developed Grommet, which is a way of styling, a tool set for styling and designing consistent user experience that's branded. And after they did that, they realized, hey, you know, customers love this, we love it, I think the community would get a lot out of this, and so they open sourced it. And now we've got a huge community out there. And we're getting thousands of downloads a month, tens of thousands of visits. So it's a real success story, I would say. Second one I would highlight is probably a newer one. This is the HPE Deep Learning Cookbook. Mm-hmm. And we're doing a lot of AI with our intelligent edge work and hybrid IT. And one of the frustrations is there aren't a lot of benchmarks and tools to help you select the most efficient way to do your training and then inference. So some of the labs researchers at HPE got together and they developed those benchmarks. They developed a set of guidelines and tools that's been very helpful to us, and now hopefully it's going to be helpful to the community. I think it's going to get a lot of traction with the importance of AI. And I guess the third one I'd highlight would be probably the LinuxKI toolset. This is a a really cool open source project that we've done that allows you to do performance troubleshooting in Linux. And it's been very, very effective for us in trying to improve the performance of machines running Linux. Our customers are using it, and now it's available to the community. So,
So I heard that HP launched a developer program.
yeah.
What does that mean? You explain a little more.
Sure. So we have a lot of passion around making hybrid IT simple. And so we thought it would be a good idea to bring the external development community in to help with this mission. So in Austin, in December of last year, we launched this Hpe Dev Community. And you can check it out. It's at hpedev.io. And basically, we're curating open source projects around some of our platforms and products in the hybrid IT space. And the reason we're doing this is we think it'll be very effective to increase the functionality and improve the ease with which you can do hybrid IT. We want to accelerate innovation, which is often the case when you bring in the external community. And we think that it'll be good for our engineers to collaborate more closely in this space. So one of the platforms we have in this space is OneSphere. And OneSphere is a multi-cloud management solution. It allows you to create clouds anywhere, deploy apps, and then gain insight into the operations of those apps. So we already have a number of open source projects that have popped up there. We've got language bindings around Python and JavaScript and Go. We've got partners that are jumping in and innovating there. So Chef is in there. They're doing some solutions around OneSphere. And they're also posting to our blog, which is kind of cool. So it's exciting, it's growing fast, and we want to invite developers, if you share this passion around hybrid IT, come join us. Go to the hpedev.io portal, join our Slack channel, join the conversation, and let's build some cool stuff.
HP has a kind of a famous culture. You know, there's the HP way, there's the 3 rules about everything. A lot of that seems pretty like synchronized with open source. Yeah. How much do you think that it's affected the kind of HP attitude, and how much do you think carried over into your open source efforts?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. I think a lot of the HP way and the openness and not having boundaries or a hierarchy artificially imposed, it's really a meritocracy, and that's the way open source is too. So I think you're right. I think it has increased the compatibility of what we do and what we believe with the way the open source community operates, and I think it's one of the reasons that we get along so well.
Sounds great. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.